Good evening, everyone. I hope that everyone was able to have an eventful time off and holiday. Welcome back. I hope that everyone was able to recoup as well and get ready for the finalization of this semester. Um, so let's jump right into it. Today I'm going to be presenting on fetishistic disorder. Fetishistic disorder is also known as fetishism, a disorder characterized by sexual deviance, recurrent and intense sexual arousals from either the use of an inanimate object or objects, or a highly specific fixation of a non-genital body parts or body parts, as manifested by fantasies, urges, or behaviors for over a period of 6 months. The diagnostic code is as seen here. This disorder can be found in the DSM-5 under the paraphilic disorders section. The fantasies, sexual urges, or behaviors must cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. It is important to note that the symptoms of this disorder are not exclusive to articles of clothing used in cross-dressing, typically seen in transvestic disorder, or devices designed for tactile genital stimulation uh, from a vibrator, for instance, are not limited objects to this disorder. A combination of both types may mutually occur. There are specifiers, as mentioned, body parts, non-living objects, or other things. For example, just to name a few, a fetish, a fetish could be uh, undergarments or exclusive focus on an intensely eroticized body part, such as feet, or a fetishistic interest may also meet the criteria for various combination specifiers such as socks, shoes, and feet, as said earlier. Specify if, however, in controlled environments, specifier in this case is applicable to individuals living in settings where opportunities to engage in fetishistic behaviors are restricted, and in full remission. A specifier is applicable to individuals exhibiting no signs of distress or impairment in areas of functioning aforelisted for at least 5 years while in an uncontrolled environment. Diagnostic criterions. A diagnosis of fetishistic disorder requires a concurrent fulfillment of both behaviors characterized by the following two criterions. Criterion A involves the persistent and repetitive use of or dependence on non-living objects or highly specific focus on non-genital body parts as primary elements associated with sexual arousal. Criterion B must exhibit clinically significant personal distress or psychosocial role impairment. Course and prevalence. According to the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, paraphilias have an onset during puberty, but fetishes can develop prior to adolescence, usually salient in adolescents with sexual curiosity. Once established, a fetishistic disorder tend to have a continuous course that fluctuates in intensity and frequency of urges or behavior. A random association between an objects or non-genital body parts to feelings of sexual gratification or activities related to sexual abuse. Now, let me elaborate. What do I mean by random association between objects or non-genital body parts? What I mean is that it at first begins as an innocent and an innocent encounter to sexual content that it is unappreciated at first when it initially occurs. For example, a male may enjoy the texture or tactile sensation of female undergarments or stockings. At first, the pleasurable sensation occurs randomly. Then, in time and with experience, the behavior of using female undergarments or stockings as part of a sexual activity is reinforced. And then the association between the garment and the sexual arousal is then made. The prevalence, however, is unknown. There's not much literature that tells us how prevalent this disorder is, but what we do know is that the majority of fetishists are males. Leading into my next point, prognoses are not sufficiently spoken about in research, so therefore I will not speak on a potential prognosis to this disorder. Cultural considerations, socioeconomic status, social environment, and religion. I want to pay special attention to social environment and religion, as both can help define and describe what is normal and what is deviant, right? Culture and socialization influence human sexual desire. Certain cultures and religions place major importance on certain body parts and certain sexual practices. And in culture, and especially in social environment, we still see a culture of patriarchy and male control in society. So we do see a lot of fetishes and a lot of female sexuality being subjugated to a lot more, and being affected in this aspect of being or being victims of fetishes. So history. The first reported case of fetishism was back in the 19th century. Van Craft Ebbing and Havelock Ebbing believed that the classic characteristic of attraction toward inanimate objects and non-genital body parts occurred as a result of associated experiences. Freud theorized that fetishists lean towards inanimate objects to overcome feelings of low self-confidence and inadequacy, and that fetish behavior stemmed from early childhood traumas. Fetishism, the term, was derived from French and Portuguese language, and in the past, fetishism was looked as a supernatural power. Etiology. The etiology in literature has not been found, so therefore I would not speak too much on this. Assessment. What do professionals screen for? So professionals will screen for development and content of sexual fantasies, age of onset, frequency and masturbatory practices, fantasies in childhood, adolescence and adulthood, use of pornography, history of sexual history, sexual and general delinquency, anxiety or level of distress associated to condition. So measures can be used via interviews, inventory surveys, questionnaires, second, third parties such as psychiatric reports, and victim statements, police reports, and things of that nature. Differential diagnoses rule out transvestic disorder, sexual sadism disorders, and other paraphilic disorders, fetishistic behaviors without fetishistic disorder. Treatment, we have cognitive behavioral therapy with a special focus in aversion therapy and imagery and desensitization and cognitive restructuration, and psychotropic medications. Medications I want to stress on is typically in just to treat symptoms of fetishism. Um, the medications that are given are given to individuals that have obsessive compulsive spectrum disorder. Um, they can also be prescribed with antidepressants to rectify the clinical distress and anxiolytic medications in conjunction with therapy. So my case presentation is as follows. Eric is a 39 years old Caucasian male who has came across legal trouble serving a 2-year prison sentence for a burglary of a woman he had been fantasizing about at work. Eric has struggled to remain consistent as his employment history reflects. His employment history shows a pattern of termination from jobs for inappropriate sexual behaviors and misconduct. Upon a forensic psychiatric examination, Eric states that he has been experiencing partialism in intense attraction and arousal to particular body parts and an erotic sexual interest in inanimate objects for over a period of 8 months. He describes these feelings as uncontrollable urges, irresistible, and pathological, and because of his enacted urges, behaviors, and actions, it has caused him lots of distress and has caused adversary consequences. Before getting busted for burglary, he stated that he has attempted several times following this woman and other women at work to the dressing room at JCPenney's department store, hoping for left behind undergarments, socks, and female shoes. When he succeeded at the burglary, Eric was seen on surveillance footage leaving the woman's apartment building with articles of intimate clothing and other items and belongings. This included photos of her that were lying around in her bedroom, undergarments, and a pair of dirty socks was all he had time to take. He had been fixated on this woman and other women who seemed to look and or dress the same way she does. The attributes that he's more so attracted to are her long shiny black hair, red lipstick that she wears with matching nails, high strappy heels, short leather skirts, and etc. He states that her style rouses him because it is suggestive. So the case presentation, the answer here is obviously fetishistic disorder, with a differential diagnosis of fetishistic behavior without fetishistic disorder. The symptoms as to why I chose fetishistic disorder were because of his onset of how the duration of his symptoms, the nature of his symptoms, his interest and arousals, and yeah. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I have attached a very detailed outline, and I will also be posting my discussion question. I look forward to reading your responses. Everybody, good luck on the rest of the semester. Take care.